Welcome to Baseball Biz. I'm Mark Harbert, your host. And with me today, of course, is Brandon No Way. When we're talking about Mr. Sports Blitz Pod on Twitter. And I know he's been real busy watching racing with this past weekend, but you know why we're here? We're here all about baseball. So, Brandon, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. Still a little exhausted from about maybe 1,300 miles of racing, but hey, it's Christmas for race fans. I don't mind being a little tired after it.
And boy, are those legs tired after 1,300 miles, I'm sure. Well, man, oh, man, oh, man. You know, because in baseball, there's been absolutely nothing going on whatsoever.
Oh, yeah, nothing. I mean, it's gotten so boring. We're talking fantasy football instead of baseball.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. Well, Mr. Tommy Pham anyway. But okay. I know we're on a tight ship today. So we got Brandon in here. We're going to crack on down on what's happening with the MLB. Let's get started.
All right, we're going to start in our home division, the AL East, where the Yanks still lead that division, 34-15 record, 5.5 ahead of the Blue Jays, who are 28-20, who are having a hot streak. They're 8-2 over their last 10. They're the hottest team in the AL East by far. The Rays, they've gone into a little bit of slump, struggling offensively, 28-21, 6 games back, playing 500 ball over the last 10. The Red Sox jumped up to 4th last week and stayed there. They are 23-27, 11.5 games back. And the Orioles are just behind them at 21-30, 14 games back.
So the Red Sox and the Orioles are fighting for that last place finish in the game. It's sad, man. It really is. I mean, you know, but one bright note for me anyway with the Red Sox, because there's players out there I like. I mean, last night they stunk again. I'm trying to figure what that game was. But earlier this past week, Nate Eovaldi, one of my favorite pitchers because he has so much diversity in the type of variety, I should say, the type of pitches he can deliver. He had I think it was his first complete game, man. It was his 211th start and his first complete game.
I mean, you don't see very many complete games nowadays.
No, I mean, we had 2 this week, and we'll talk about another one later. But Nate, you know, he was out there, he was delivering it, man, after 9 innings with the 5-3 victory, you know, over the Baltimore Orioles. Oh gosh! Well, one bottom one smacking the other bottom one. It just gets to be ridiculous sometimes.
Yeah, it's not the greatest stretch for the Red Sox. They lost 2 out of 5 against Orioles, and a back-to-back series against a team I don't see that too often. But they got the Reds coming in town last night at the time of recording, which would be Tuesday night that the Reds came in, hoping they could, you know, sort of bounce back off of a bottom feeder. That really wasn't the case as they dropped the opener 2-1.
Yeah. I saw a little bit on the condensed game on that. Man, it looked like some sloppy fielding by the Red Sox out there, and that'll make a difference. So, you know, all the teams, we wish all teams well, but we always want our own to win. And speaking of our own team, so the Rays dropped down to 3rd since the Blue Jays moved up. One good bit of news for Rays as far as just exciting watching the game. I think Kevin Kiermaier, he led off the team as the DH the other day. I know also I think it was past week, he had one game where he had the walk-off home run. And that was another first. You know, he's had a pretty exciting week. So Rays, you may be suffering right now at the hands of Texas, but there is some good news or some good things to look at.
Yeah, Kiermaier, he's had his best year. I think he's been the best player on the Rays so far. You know, Franco and Ji-Man, they started off hot, but they've sort of tapered off a little bit. Some of that due to injuries and some of that just to, you know, the ebbs and flows of the season.
Oh, yeah.
But Kiermaier has probably been the most consistent guy at the plate so far into this season.
Yeah, I hope to see him continue to do well because he has in the past year or so been the subject of, why haven't we traded him yet? You know, it's like, come on, people. I know. And other people say, Kevin Kiermaier is an institution and he'll be here as long as Longoria. Oh, I'm sorry. He's not here anymore. But yeah, so I was glad to see, you know, that we'll see how they continue to play the remainder of the year. What else is going on, man? What across the American League?
All right, we'll head west to the AL Central, where the Twinkies, Minnesota Twins, still lead 30-21. Even though they're playing 500 ball, thankfully the rest of the division isn't. playing very great. They're either 500 or below, as the White Sox are in second at 23 and 24, 5 games back. The Guardians 21 and 24, 6 games back. And the Detroit Tigers 19 and 30, 10 games back, who are the only team playing above 500 in that division over the last 10 games, despite their league worst offense. And then in last place, the Kansas City Royals 16 and 32, 12 and a half games back.
I don't know what's going to happen here. I mean, I'm looking at Royals, some other little notes here. Zach Greinke, he was having some trouble with his forearm sore and tightness there. I don't know that's really going to make much difference if he's in or out of the game. The Royals don't really seem to be showing it. It's what was it? Looking at the White Sox, I mean, they've had a tough road. They're now on the road with 3 games against the Blue Jays, 2 games with the Rays, and then I think next Tuesday they finally return. With 3 games with the Dodgers. So we'll see there. But most importantly to me in the AL Central was what was happening with the Cleveland Guardians. And I'm not talking about the Guardians, as a whole. I'm looking at the gentleman by the name of Mr. Ramirez. That's right, Jose Ramirez. He is the AL Player of the Month, and he was also the AL American League Player of the Month for last month. Taking a look at a few notes from MLB, it says Ramirez, who agreed to sign a 7-year, $141 million contract with Cleveland. He did that just before opening day. He was batting at the time, I think last month, about 342. He had 7 home runs then and 28 RBIs. Let's see. This month he started hot. He's had, overall 3 home runs, 11 RBIs, and total 7 of Ramirez's 8 hits went for extra bases, along with being tied to league in triples 4. Ramirez leads all of baseball with 51 RBIs. Oof. He became the first player to reach 50 RBIs this season. This is all from MLB, and he's batting .297 on the year with 13 home runs, 11 doubles, 6 steals, and 28 runs scored, while only striking out 15 times. Jose Ramirez, we salute you, and I'm looking forward to seeing if you're the AL Player of the Month the next month. We'll see how that goes.
I mean, the way he's playing, it wouldn't surprise me if he is, and he's definitely not the problem with the Guardians right now.
No.
And if I remember correctly, he left a bunch of money on the table too, because he said it's not about money, so he took the 7 for 141. So he left some money out there. So, I mean, the Guardians are getting a bargain from him.
Yeah, and very nice for them indeed. And I think didn't he play with Lindor, who's the National League Player of the Month? I think that Lindor used to be with Cleveland as well, didn't he?
Yes.
So wow, can you imagine if both of them were still on that team? Chills.
Yeah, that could be pretty good.
Chills. Wow.
That'd actually be a pretty exciting division if, that Guardians team was going up against, the Twins team when, Carlos Correa is healthy.
Ooh.
That could be a really exciting matchup to watch.
I'll keep my eyes open for it. I don't know if they're on the schedule, but I'll be looking. I'll be looking to see what's coming. What else we got, brother?
All right, wrapping up the American League out west, the Astros are starting to pull away a bit. They are 32 and 18, 7 and 3 over their last 10 games. They are 5 games ahead of the Angels, who are 27 and 23. Kind of going through a slump right now, 3 and 7 over their last 10. Then the Rangers at 500 are 24 and 24, 7 games back. The Mariners 21 and 28, 10 and a half games back. And the Oakland A's 13 games back at 20 and 32.
Ooh. I got to watch a few of the games in the AL West this week. One of them was watching the Rays and the Rangers and playing out there in Arlington, Texas. But Eli White, this guy, this outfielder, I think he was center fielder, he was just amazing. We're talking about how Ji-Man Choi may be actually falling back a bit, but he had this beautiful, beautiful home run hit, and it looks like it's about 3 feet over the wall. But Eli White, center fielder for the Rangers, leaps probably 4 feet up, and he gets that ball. I mean, it was just dumbfounding to me to see him get it. Part of my heart broke because I thought, gee, man, yeah, you home run. Oh, my gosh, this can't happen. And he did a great job with that, Eli White. Not only that, he came back later in the game and hit a home run. So Eli White, kudos to you. I'm looking for great things to come as the season develops as well.
That's not a low wall that he almost jumped over either. It's not like the one that the Rays have in the left field corner where it's waist high. That's like as tall as a average sized human, and he almost jumped over it.
He was amazing to watch him. I want to keep watching him a little more, like I said, especially with Eli White, what he's going to be doing. But yeah, that was taller than you might think. When we were talking about complete games, while we did say Nate Eovaldi got one with the Red Sox and correlating played 9 innings, Framber Valdez with the Astros, man, he pitched a complete game the other day with 114 pitches against the A's. Now they won that, but I thought, man, surely your arm's getting tired. So I looked back a couple of games, and the 2 previous games he pitched, one of them was 105 pitches, another was 106 pitches, and before that it was like 96. So this guy, he's got some durability, man. I just hope that arm stays strong.
Yeah, that's what we call old school.
Oh.
I say it's old school, but I remember watching that like 10, 15 years ago as a kid.
Wow, that says a lot, man. Yeah, I don't know. I say the Angels, you were mentioning earlier, I mean, they got swept at home in a 4-game series against the Blue Jays. There is nothing worse than getting swept at home. And in 4 games, good gravy, man. That's some serious pain.
Yeah, I mean, at least they're going up against a good opponent in the Blue Jays, but you're at home. It's a West Coast game, so the time change. It's sort of an excuse for them, but you still got to play your professionals. But it ended up working in their favor because they beat you 4 out of the 7 games, or all 4 out of the 4 games. And then last night against the Yankees, I didn't watch the whole game, but they started out, Syndergaard was struggling. Trout was diving all over the place and almost hurt himself at one point early in the game. And I didn't see the end of the game, but I believe the Yankees still won that game. So a pretty ugly stretch so far this week for the Angels.
Yeah, I mean, with that happening, I mean, so the AL East beating up on them. They've got a 3. So this is what they got the 3-game series going on right now in New York, and like I said, they lost the first one. So we'll see what comes of that. But I imagine Joe Madden might be checking his stopwatch and see how much time he has left with that team. If this continues, when you got the type of talent that he does with Shohei and Trout, and like you're saying, even Syndergaard, but when you get some struggling like that, they might be looking at Joe again. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we heaped high praise on the Angels a few weeks ago. Maybe it was too early to heap some of that on them, but this also could just be a bad stretch, which every team goes through. It's 162 games. It's going to happen.
Oh yeah.
And I was wrong about the Yankees game. They did not keep it close. The Yankees won 9-1. So that wasn't close at all. And it doesn't get any easier because they had the 2 games against the Yankees, the Phillies, who, it seems like they can win, but they just get in their own way at times. And then the Red Sox come to town. So it's not the easiest. And then the Mets, followed by the Dodgers. So they have a couple series to get it figured out, because if they don't, it could snowball pretty quickly against two of the teams from the NL.
Look out, boys and girls. So I guess that's a wrap on the American League. What else we got, man?
All right, with the NL, and speaking of the Mets and Phillies, the Mets still lead the NL East at 34-17, well ahead of the Braves, who are 10.5 back at 23-27. The Phillies, 21-29, 12.5 back, tied with the Marlins, who are 19-27, 12.5 back as well. And then the Nationals, 16 games back at 18-33.
I mean, too, if you're looking, when we're talking about the American League Player of the Month and how well Cleveland should be doing, with Jose Ramirez, the Mets also, they put a player for National League the National League Player of the Month, and that was Francisco Lindor. He has just been hot. I'm looking here again at some notes from MLB. Said, look, Lindor has been one of the hottest hitters in baseball over the past month, and last week was no exception. Along with slashing 348, 407, 870, Lindor drove in a run in every game last week and has recorded an RBI in 8 straight games. Lindor's best game of the week came on Tuesday when he recorded a triple, home run, and 6 RBIs in a 13-12 Mets loss to the Giants that might end up being the game of the year. Well, I got to take that one up to see it. Lindor finished with 14 RBIs over the week span to go along with 2 doubles, 2 triples, and 2 home runs. On the season, they're saying here the switch hitting, a shortstop is batting at .262 with 8 home runs and 40 RBIs. And that's the Mets are just, they're doing great, as you mentioned a moment ago, with .667 average being across both leagues. The only one who's beating them are the Yankees with a .694 average.
Yeah, I mean, he's on track for a great year because at this point we're a third of the way through the season. He's on track for 120 RBIs. So he's having a great year. And if he can keep that up as well as the Mets throughout the year, we could have the Mets making another run into the playoffs.
Well, we all thought Steve Cohen's put enough money down on that. He should be seeing a team there. I would be actually more surprised if they weren't there, Brandon.
Yeah, I mean, we thought this was going to happen last year. We infamously picked a Mets Padres NLCS, and that we weren't even close on that one. No. Both teams didn't even make the playoffs.
Sure.
But this year, it is a distinct possibility of it happening. A third of the way through the year, anything can happen. But maybe we just got the prediction right. It was just a year later. Maybe.
It just needed a little bit more seasoning on those on that team. Yeah. So what's happened? What else has happened across the National League?
All right, into the Central, where the Brewers are leading at 32-19, 3 games ahead of the Cardinals, who are 28-21. Then, surprisingly, in third, even though they are further back, 9.5 games, are the Pirates at 21-27. Then the Chicago Cubs at 20-29 are 11 back. And then the Cincinnati Reds creeping in a little bit closer to fourth place there, 13.5 back at 17-31.
Wow, man. It's this past week, Central National League has been a little wacky. Now, I don't know if you saw in this Pirates-Dodgers series. To me, it's foregone conclusion. Dodgers, Pirates are, I wouldn't say bottom feeders, but they're certainly not, the ones I expect to see at the top. I mean, and the Pirates took the first game in a 3-game series in LA with a 6-5 win over the Dodgers on Memorial Day. And let's see, went on to Tuesday. The Pirates returned to Dodger Stadium to hand the LA team another defeat with a 5-3 win. And they play again tonight, Brandon. I don't know what's going to happen, but I didn't see this coming with Pirates winning that, well over the Dodgers.
Yeah, and they played a good team over the weekend in the Padres, and even they only won 1 out of the 3 games. They didn't get blown out as they lost 4-3 and then 4-2. So they kept it close. It's not like they were losing 10-1 like the Red Sox did. They kept it close. And I mean, that's sort of surprising because we didn't really expect much from the Pirates. We thought they'd be, maybe a little bit closer to Reds territory, but they seem, I'd say maybe a little bit more like the Orioles, where they're more respectable because they're not going to be they're not just going to roll over for anybody.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to watch. I mean, right now their winning average is .438, so obviously beneath 500. But I don't know. They're doing more than I certainly did anticipate coming from them. So I guess I wish everybody good luck. I'm so wishy-washy, but yeah. I mean, and then what you look at the Cardinals. As of right now, I think they may be on the best winning streak of the last 10 games with about 7-3 win. And one of the guys that really is always fun to watch on the Cardinals is Paul Goldschmidt, man. Right now, he's got a hitting streak, I think, of about 20 games. No. Yeah, 20-game hitting streak and a 34-game on base streak. Now, Goldie, as they call him, is definitely something worth watching with the Cardinals. And as you mentioned with the Cubs and the Reds, I mean, If you're the Cubs, everything's been looking bad since the World Series. I hate to say it, since they won it. It seems we're giving up so many players, and add insult to injury. What the Reds really drubbed the Cubs last night. Oh, excuse me, last week, one game with a 20-5 win. So that just was mind numbing to me.
Yeah, for the Cubs, I mean, I remember we were talking about it near the end of last year when they traded everybody away. They were like, we're not gonna just spend our way out of it. We're gonna reload and make another run at it. And I mean, we all kind of knew that this year was gonna be a write-off over time. I don't know how it's gonna go like next year or the year after that. I know Cubs fans would probably like to see some progress a little bit quicker than what they're seeing right now, but I mean, being fourth in the division behind the Pirates and then getting blown out, like you said, to the Reds, who
Yeah.
are looked at as arguably the worst team in all of baseball, that that's definitely got to leave a bad taste in your mouth.
Yeah, it absolutely has to. And I mean, it's just crazy seeing what's going on there. But I'm curious to see with these Reds anyway, because anytime you play them and they beat you that bad, it's like a slap in the face. But
Oh, oh,
okay.
come on now.
We won't say any more than that. But oh gosh, yeah. Yeah, it's some crazy things going on there with the Reds. That little indiscretion of Tommy Phams, probably more than that. But some said, instead of confronting Jock Peterson about some of the ways that he did things with their little fantasy league, that they should have taken that up with the league's commissioner, meaning the fantasy league's commissioner. I said, yeah, that sounds right.
I think he was a little busy considering his name is Mike Trout.
Yeah.
He's busy at the moment.
I'm sorry. Is that what was going on? Okay. Oh, so what else we got going, brother?
All right, and to close out our rundown, we finish out west with the NL West, where the Dodgers still in first place at 33-16. Padres a little bit behind them, 3 games back at 30-19. Then the Giants in third place at 27-21, 5.5 back, coming off of a weekend where they wish it was a fantasy after getting slapped around by the Reds. Then we got to go a little bit ways to the Diamondbacks, who are 9 games back at 25-26. And then the Rockies at 10.5 back are 22-26 as well.
Yeah, for me, looking at the NL West, the one thing that really kind of popped, of course, was what we talked about earlier. It was the Pirates and Dodgers series. That was there. We've already addressed that. It's like, geez, man, and all this is happening. I think Dave Roberts turned 50 on the day they were getting beat by the Pirates. It's like the Pirates have come and stole your happiness, Dave. Oh my gosh! But the other thing about the Giants that I saw, what was it? Earlier last week, I was looking at a stat on Evan Longoria, our favorite third baseman, historic third baseman from the Tampa Bay Rays. Now playing with the Giants. He over a 6-game stretch, he'd hit 5 home runs, and I thought, yes, I think he's about like 36 years old now, Brandon, and to see him still bringing it, that was just huge.
Yeah, and we've talked about him. We've been hoping that he'd be successful because he was very successful here. The last few years, he had some moments. He had some moments that weren't so great.
Yeah.
Remember, at some point we called him elevator shaft Evan because in clutch moments he just hit it straight up the elevator shaft.
Yep.
But he did have some really big moments, and ever since he went to the Giants, he sort of, we haven't heard much from him. Which, I mean, you're on the Giants. There's some pretty big talent in there, like Buster Posey, Crawford, guys like that. And hopefully he's getting his step back to where he's one of the top third basemen in the league.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing more for him. Some say, well, he's doing a lot. Don't know if they'll be a Hall of Fame caliber when the time comes, but we'll see. He'll be one of my favorite players for a long time to come.
Yeah, I don't like you. I don't think he'd be a Hall of Famer. I think he'd be in the Hall of Very Good. But he definitely has a career that, I mean, if he were to walk away right now, I'd say he had a very successful career because, I mean, he won Gold Gloves, all the success that he had with the Rays, winning those awards. I think a very well done career. Nothing to Nothing to be ashamed of there.
No,
I'd
not at
take it.
all. Oh, yeah. Well, again, he's a great player, and he's the one you really like to see on a regular basis because you know that he's going to deliver. And like you said, taking it up the elevator when needed. But oh boy. So is that it? Is there any other nuggets or notes we need to know about the MLB rundown this week?
No, believe that's it.
All right. Well, we're going to talk a little bit later on the show with Mary Kitts about softball. But before we get there, I was going to give a little teaser, Brandon, because I want to do a show on a team that's selling out, this minor league team selling out every game. They got 4,000 seats, and they're called the Savannah Bananas. Yeah, I'm telling you have to check it out on YouTube. They got something on ESPN and HBO coming up. You talk about marketing; these guys got it figured out. Kind of give you an idea about Savannah Bananas up there is that if you want to go to a game, obviously they're sold out, season tickets, etc. I went on SeatGeek and said, "Oh, maybe I could go that way." Lowest ticket I could find was $164.
Oh,
Yeah, and I found some games where the lowest was like $400, and I said, "Come on, man! Can you imagine having that much enthusiasm? I mean, granted, it's only a 4,000 seat stadium, but talk about biz and business, a baseball biz. Somebody needs to get a hold of these guys, and we're not going to go into some of the selling or marketing techniques they're doing, but they're trying to make baseball fun. I mean, Brett Phillips would be happy here." Okay. I'm gonna hit you with a couple of these. Okay. Let's see. No bunting. Bunting sucks. Enough said. That's one of the rules. Okay, it's rule number 4. Batters can steal first. If a pass ball or wild pitch happens during any pitch of an at bat, the batter can take off to first. No mound visits allowed. That'll speed up a game.
yeah, that could be useful.
If a fan catches a ball, it's an out. Why not let the fans get in on some of the action?
That could be fun. What if it's a home run and they catch it?
Man, that would hurt. You got a grand slam or something, and geez, that could be crazy. And it's played like this is interesting part too. In golf, you have match play where instead of just saying what your cumulative score is, you talk about each time you go on each. Can't you speak? Each hole. Okay. How you doing each hole? So here's the rule in that every inning counts. The team that scores the most runs in an inning gets a point. Okay. If you hit 5 runs or whatever, you still get a point, single point. The first team to win 5 points wins the game. The inning is over once the home team takes a lead or 3 outs are recorded on the home team.
This is a different rule package.
Yeah, there's a few others, including like no walks allowed, and like so. I'll dig into the Savannah Bananas sometime soon. But I gave you probably most of the rules here, and the people who did this, they're going to be a great topic about how they this man and wife bought this team and what they've done with it. So it's the Savannah Bananas baseball minor league team. Lots of fun.
Man, I can't wait to hear that show. That sounds fun.
Yeah, can't wait to do it either. But going on with, like I said, from here, we'll be talking with Mary Kitts here in a little bit because softball, we're coming to the NCAA finals. We're the last 8 teams have been the regionals, been the super regionals, and we'll share a little bit more with you that in a few moments. Any other nuggets you wish to share with us, Brandon? Any other sports going on that you want to illuminate for the rest of our audience?
Oh man, I mean the NHL playoffs. We're on the back 9. As you were talking about golf a second ago. We're the conference finals. You have the Oilers and Avalanche going against each other. I mean, you got guys like McKinnon, McDavid, Draisaitl going against each other. That's going to be a fun series. So last night it was like a 7-6 final.
Wow.
So that was nobody really wanted to play defense, but it was fun to watch those skill players doing their thing. And then the exact opposite in the Eastern Conference, where you have arguably the greatest goalie in the world in Vasilevsky going up against who some people say is the best goalie in the world, but I think he was second at the moment, Igor Shesterkin. So that's going to probably be the complete opposite. I think that's going to be a really fun series to watch as well. I'd love to see McDavid, Vasilevsky go against each other in the finals.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's got my interest peaked for the next few weeks. Racing, coming off the high of the greatest weekend in racing, that was, of course, very fun to watch. A long day that went from about 9 a.m. to past midnight
Oof.
watching racing. But this week's a little bit of a slow down compared to last week, but it's still going to be fun. NASCAR is going to two new tracks, Portland and St. Louis. So excited to see that as well. Get some new blood in there. Always fun to watch. But that's pretty much all that's going on around the sports world, at least in my eyes.
And that's all that's important from Sports Blitz Pod. And that's Brandon. You can find him again on Twitter at Sports Blitz Pod. Wow, Brandon. So, man, thank you once again for bringing all of what's going on in the rest of the sports world, as well as illuminating the MLB rundown this week.
Yeah, and thank you for making special accommodations for me. And thank you, everybody else, for listening.
And we're going to go ahead now and follow up with a little depth of what's going on in NCAA softball with our special analyst, Mary Kitts, to join us once again to talk a little bit about the World Series of women's softball coming up here with the NCAA Division I. And what does that mean? Who's there? How do they get there? And what's next? Welcome, Mary. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I am doing great. Thank you for asking. I've been following baseball a lot, but obviously so much going on with softball. And a lot of these young women who worked so hard this entire year, they play their complete seasons, and we've gotten here to the World Series. You see some of the primary teams that we expected to see there, and some of the other ones that have fallen off. As a softball fan, you're looking at this. What are you seeing out there? What was unexpected and what was expected on these teams? Because who's out there that you're looking at as most potential winner of the entire championship?
Well, definitely Oklahoma. They're always going to be a part of that conversation. They just had an incredible offense this year. They beat UCF to get to the World Series. And they play Northwestern, who is ranked number 9, but Northwestern's going to have to bring their A game to beat Oklahoma. I don't think anyone has done it twice this year. So that'll be difficult. But surprises, there are 3 unseeded teams. We've got Texas, Arizona, and Oregon State who came in and managed to get all the way to the World Series. Texas took down Arkansas, number 4 Arkansas.
Wow.
Yeah, and they did beat Oklahoma once in the regular season. So obviously they've got something special going on and could be a surprise during this. Oregon State took down number 11 Tennessee to make it all the way to the World Series. So that was, none of it is surprising, particularly because they've made it to super regionals. But when an unseeded team beats a seeded team, it's always a little bit of a shock because you know who the heavy favorite is going in. And then Arizona took down Mississippi State. So that was 2 unseeded teams against each other. Arizona is one of the most storied softball programs in history too. So it's good to see them back in the World Series, even though it's a surprise. And then another surprise would be number 14 Florida taking down Virginia Tech.
Yeah, that a lot of people, I know I saw a lot of comments on Twitter, et cetera. There's like astonishment in some cases to see Florida do that. I mean, we had a 1.3 or 4 potential Florida teams that were going to be in there. And at this point, what was it? The UCF, I think, not UCF. Yeah, UCF was still there in the super regionals, weren't they? And then
yes, UCF played Oklahoma.
Right. So they got beat out of that. And I'd like to stop for a minute and let folks know, if they don't already, how this system works out. And many times when you're watching softball, baseball, whatever, as teams advance, they're usually playing in a series and throughout the regular season. And when we finally get to tournament time, we're finding what you're saying. We've got the regionals, we got the super regionals, and now we're at the World Series. But during the regionals and super regionals, how does that work? How many teams are in there, and what do they have to do to advance?
In the regionals, it's 4 teams. And so the way it works is the weekend before, you're going to have the conference championships. So like the ACC, the SEC. And then that Sunday, they have a selection Sunday where they select and they place all the teams in their brackets for regionals. and they play at the home field of the top seeded team. And there's 4 teams that will play, and it is double elimination. You get to see a bunch of games last all weekend, and whoever comes out on top advances to super regionals. In super regionals, there's 2 teams, and it's the best of 3 games. So, whoever wins 2 gets to go on to the Women's College World Series. And from there on, it's double elimination and bracket play. And then after that, it's a best of 3 championship series.
Okay, but getting down to the part of where we were talking about the regionals and super regionals, again, those were series. You didn't play just one game. You played 2 or 3 games or more. How is that?
Yes. So if you lost, for instance, the first game, but you kept winning, you would have played, I think it would be 4, it could be 5 games if you came all the way back to the end. So it's double elimination for those. And right now we're back to double elimination until we get to the final championship series.
So now we're down to 8 teams.
Yes.
And, because when you're looking at that and you say, my gosh, well, initially I thought, well, one will eliminate the other. But as you were saying, there's basically I'll call it a second chance bracket. I hate the word loser bracket, but a second chance bracket, a team that loses against another because there's only one game going to be defining who their victor is to move on. But the second chance bracket allows somebody else to come back in. And as you were saying, we were talking about earlier, FSU, that was the tool that actually allowed them to come back in and win the entire thing a couple of years ago.
Yeah, they went to the losers bracket, and then they won every game they played after that to battle it out of the losers bracket, which was pretty good. I know UCLA has done it as well. So it happens, sometimes you have an off game and then you come back and you take the tournament by shock and just win every game afterwards.
Wow.
And that makes for an exciting, that's always exciting to watch them do that.
There's so much going on when you watch these games, and folks, if you're not looking at them, you're crazy. If you're not, there's a lot on ESPN Plus, the different collegiate stations like ACC, the SEC, all of those. You can look at them. You can probably find some. And Mary and I will give you kind of a rundown of where you can find some of these games in the women's championship here.
They should all be on ESPN or ESPN2. Some are on ABC. So this is when we get prime time.
I like it that there sounds like maybe most everything you'd be able to see on one channel or one network, one streaming service, if you will.
Yeah, my Thursday is going to be good because I'll just sit down at 12 and start watching softball until like 12 that night, and I'll just watch it all on ESPN.
Well, there you go. That's the way to approach it. I know in preparation for all this, and as teams were advancing, I saw a little bit of news. One of them was the Longhorns actually moved up and won in the super regionals. I don't think everybody was prepared for that and being able to celebrate appropriately. It sounded like some folks at the NCAA may have actually dropped the ball in helping that team celebrate their win.
Yeah, it looks like they didn't get their hats or they get this like poster thing where they get to put their sticker on it to show they've advanced to the World Series. And it doesn't sound like they got that. I'm sure it was just an honest mistake, but I feel bad for those girls because that would have been an exciting moment. Yeah,
I mein, it's kind of anticipated. Hey, we got here, we did all this, and oh, by the way, where's our winter championship gear, boys and girls? they didn't deliver, but I saw later on that between boosters and fans and everything else, they got a lot more love as well. So I don't think they're deflated enough that it will hurt them as they advance here to the World Series. My gosh, it's crazy. It's such an exciting part of the game. Just kind of a sidebar. I always wondered, during these championships, all these vendors have made up all the hats and all the shirts with different teams that are going to be the champions. So half of them are inaccurate. I wonder if they all go into a bin somewhere and are chopped up.
I've seen pictures where they've given them away to they've just given them away to people. So in other countries, so you see pictures of people wearing hats or shirts from a team that didn't win a tournament.
well, they should probably find their way, if they could, to a computer somewhere, and they could probably sell that as a high ticket item. Okay. Well, enough of that. These teams are advancing. You and I talked in the past about the COVID year and how these players were extended an additional year of being able to play softball. One thing I thought, well, that's great. You and I've talked about some of the players FSU had. We thought it'd be great to see them yet for one more year come along through here. But I saw that somewhere I think it was Michigan, a couple of the women there have said, our fifth year, we're going to go somewhere else. We're going to actually transfer or go to another school.
Yeah. We saw a couple out of Michigan. There were 6 out of Alabama. So after they lost in the regionals. So I don't know if that's a signal of discontent with the program. For Alabama, I was a little surprised because obviously they look like they're going to come back next year and they have a good shot of making it to the World Series. But apparently when 6 players enter the transfer portal right after you lose a big game, it makes it seem like something is wrong.
Yeah.
For Michigan, they haven't been to the World Series since 2016, I think. So I'm guessing that those players are looking for a better chance elsewhere. Or they could also just be looking for a different program that fits their style of play better. You never really know why a player has entered the transfer portal. You never really know the decision process that goes on behind that, but sometimes it looks like something wonky is going on, like at Alabama.
Yeah, did you see 6 are doing that in Alabama?
Yeah, 6. 2 days after losing the NCAA regionals, 6 players entered the transfer portal.
Wow. Yeah, there's going to be another story coming out of that, I'm sure, in the future.
Yeah, it was like 3 freshmen who were all starters, the number 2 pitcher, and 2 older players, 2 veteran players. It wasn't like it was just players who were looking to get play time. These players had playing time.
Wow. Yeah, I'll be curious to watch that as well. But there's enough good positive things going on. You were saying as far as some of your top contenders. I mean, I just want to scratch my head and say, come on, guys, Oklahoma. I'm tired of hearing about it, but yeah, there they are. And I saw somebody talking about a couple of pairings they would thought would be interesting. One would be Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, and another one was, I think they said UCLA and Arizona. So I thought both of those would be interesting to see. And Oklahoma State plays enough with Oklahoma to know how they play. It's not going to be anything new for them.
No, it's a great rivalry, of course, and I'm sure that people in Oklahoma would love that since it would be a home state rivalry in Oklahoma City. For as tired as we get talking about Oklahoma, they really just have been unreal this season. They deserve all the praise they're getting. I've never seen a softball team so dominant. It will be interesting to see if anyone can beat them out and take them down. They're the ones to beat. They're the ones to come after, and they're the ones everyone's hoping they'll be able to beat.
Well, we'll see what comes, but it's coming soon. So all this starts Thursday, right?
Yep, it starts Thursday. The first game is going to be Texas at UCLA, and that starts at 12 o'clock on Thursday.
Wow. So that goes on, and then through the weekend, and then when's the next step? When do we finally get down to the final 2 teams? What's that date?
The final 2 teams should start June 8th through the 10th. So Monday will be the last part of the bracket, and then they have 2 days off. So June 8th, I'm not sure what day that is. I'm guessing it's a Wednesday. Yes, it is. It's a Wednesday. So June 8th, Wednesday, is when the final tournament will start.
We're recording here today on June 1st, so we're looking 1 week away. It's going to be here, and excitement will out. So I'm going to be watching. And anything else you think that fans and enthusiasts should be looking at right now as we come closer and closer to that date?
I just think even if you don't have a team in it, which I don't really have a team in it, it's still fun to watch. You get a week of softball coming up, which is fun. You get to just sit back and relax and watch games. I'll be interested to see what the unseeded teams do.
Right.
To see if they can, metaphorically beat Goliath, which is all the seeded teams. Otherwise, it's just going to be a fun week. It's always a fun week.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. And like I said, nothing against Oklahoma. They've achieved these things because they're good. They're great. There's great coaching. But I think I'm going to pull for Arizona. So I think I've got my, I believe I'm going to pull for Arizona.
I like Arizona. I don't know who I'm pulling for yet. Probably whoever surprises us the most. I like an underdog story.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe you and I can talk again once all this has come to be and say what we enjoyed about the series and share that with everybody else out there as well.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Mary, thanks again for joining us here today at Baseball Biz. Having another fun time trying to, for me to try to understand everything about softball. But the one thing I do understand, it is fun to watch. So hope all of you enjoyed the time here with us at Baseball Biz. And once again, thanks, Mary, and we'll catch up real soon.
Sounds good.
You've been listening to Baseball Biz. We want to thank you again for joining us this week. You can find us here. You can find us on iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. We're everywhere. Thank you again for joining us today, and we look forward to talking with you again real soon. Special thanks to X-Take RUX for the music Rocking Forward.
That's just terrible. Terrible basketball.